Hello, welcome to Spirituality Simplified. Today we are going to talk all about joy. I'm so excited about this one because it's really needed right now. This is a message that I've been receiving consistently for weeks now. And it was funny because I asked my guides, what should we talk about this week on the podcast? What do my amazing podcast listeners and YouTube watchers, what do you need to know? What do people need right now? And again, I heard joy. And, I've been checking in with my guides every day and I ask, what do I need to know? What do I need to do today to live my best life? And, I keep getting that same answer is you need to find more joy and you need to bring that into every single day. And, I'll be honest, I've struggled with this. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? And, with everything going on in the world, it can be really difficult to think about joy. There's a lot of sadness, there's a lot of grief, there's a lot of really dense, heavy energies right now. And it's hard with all of this in the air. It's easy to get weighed down and make it, really difficult to see the true beauty and the joy in life, even during the dark times. And, especially during this time of crisis and uncertainty. And we just had this election here in the States, and, this just crazy right now. So I feel like this was actually timed really well. Divine timing, right? It's always right. So I felt this was a really important topic to talk about because I know so many people, like my clients, myself included, and all of some other people. I know there's other people out there that are experiencing the same thing and wondering, okay, that's great and all, like, let's bring joy in our lives, but what exactly does that mean and how can you do it? And how can you do it in an easy and fun way that you're actually going to do and that you can actually implement into your daily routine, right? I actually shouldn't even say routine. Just implement into your life. Like, just invite that bliss and that fun and that just pure joy into your lives. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So I'm really excited about it. Let's just dive right in. The first thing I wanted to talk about before we go into the different ways is, why is joy so important right now? So, we kind of alluded to it just a second ago, but what my guides shared with me is that when you experience joy, you are tapping and connecting into your inner child. And your inner child is your true divine self. So if you think about when you were a little kid and you were just brand new to this world. You didn't know anything except for your own heart and your imagination, and you had this beautiful, pure view of the world. That's because you just came directly from source and your ego mind wasn't fully developed yet. So the ego mind didn't have that ability to really take over your intuition and true self yet. So, this connection to your inner child and connection to source, that is your true nature. Even as an adult, that is your true nature. So, if you think about being a child, but then you started reaching into adulthood, your ego mind started becoming more developed. And so it started to take over. And when that happens, it moves you further and further away from source. So, the thing with your ego mind, and it's ingrained in you, and it's kind of just takes over, right? But what happens is your ego mind makes you question the truth. It makes you question your faith, your abilities, and it makes you fear all sorts of things unnecessarily. Fear the unknown, and all that stuff is all drummed up by your ego mind. Now, I'm not saying the ego is always bad. I mean, it definitely has its purpose, right? So um, the ego, reacts more to external environmental factors versus your intuition and going into your true self to seek the truth. So if you're, trying to figure out a question, your ego mind is going to look externally, whereas your true divine self is going to look internally. So I hope that makes sense. And I want to give a little example. Maybe this will help. Think of the fight or flight response. So this is a critical response and it protects us from any kind of danger. And this response was really highly developed back when we were, the first humans that were created and placed on this planet, right? So um, this was really important for them because back in that time, like the humans, they had to rely 100% on their senses. So this response was critical to survive, right? But today it's just a different time. It's just different in where we are, and we certainly need our fight or flight response still, but not as intensely. But we've carried this through all the years and the generations, and that's still within us really intensely. So what happens is this response now can cause like unnecessary fear and overreaction to any kind of stressor, no matter how big or small that stressor is. So, the result is, we're experiencing constant anxiety. You have an exhausted adrenal system, and you have that inability to connect with your true self and soul because you're so consumed with this high alert panic response and feeling. So, this physical experience that you're having can easily disconnect you from your true self and source. But the truth is that even though you're living in this physical body, having this physical experience on this planet, you are a beautiful soul that's still highly connected to source, to God, to Mother Earth, to the divine, to whatever higher power you believe in. And the great thing is you can reconnect that direct line to source whenever you tap into your inner child. So, us, everybody, humans on this planet, we're meant to live a happy and fulfilling life, even during difficult times. So, when you're connected to your spirituality, you have a greater understanding of this higher purpose of certain events, people, or situations in your own life and that are going on in the world. Now, this understanding of this higher purpose can bring you comfort and healing and allow you to find joy even in the most challenging of situations. So, just to kind of sum it up, so when you tap into your inner child, you're tapping into your spirituality and your direct line to source. And when you tap into your spirituality and direct line to source, you experience what true joy really feels like. So, and again, the best part about all of this is that there's a never-ending supply of joy. And from this well, like you can tap into this anytime and it's never ending. It's always within you and you can do it anytime. That's the beauty. So that's essentially, why it's so important to experience joy. And, of course, we've got the spiritual side of it, but, there's so many benefits to bringing joy into your life. I mean, they're endless. Again, it's not only beneficial to your spirit, but to your actual physical body. Doing the things that bring you joy, it reduces stress and anxiety. It reduces your blood pressure. It calms the nervous system. It increases serotonin production in your brain. And it boosts immunity. I mean, the list goes on and on. Joy essentially is going to bring that balance and health to your entire mind, body, and spirit. So it's a beautiful thing. It's like it's like its own medicine, and it's right there. It's right there within you, and it's easy to tap into that. And it's fun. So, like I kind of alluded here before, really a great way to tap into that joy is to tap into your inner child. So, one thing that I heard from my guides, which I loved, and this was so much fun writing. I wrote this blog and then, writing my notes for this podcast, because it just brings you back. And that's kind of the theme or message that my guides wanted to share with us is, again, simplicity is key. That is the main theme of 2020. Simple, right? Again, that's what I started this podcast. It's Spirituality Simplified. Like, let's make our lives more simple because it's pretty crazy and complex right now. So what our guides are encouraging us to do is to really think back to simpler times and think about all the things that you did as a kid that you loved, that made you laugh, and brought you that satisfying entertainment for hours on end, right? You could just be entertained for hours. It was great. And depending on your generation and when you grew up, it's your joy and your activities that you did as a kid, they're going to be totally different. But I've included some ideas that I want to share with you. And a lot of this kind of comes from my own childhood. So some of you will probably relate. But again, it's more just about the idea of it. So this can apply to anyone, regardless of when you grew up. And again, this is just bringing us back to simpler times and just finding joy in just the simplest of activities, and that's going to help you to implement these in your daily life. Okay, so the first one, spend time with animals. I love this one. I'm a huge animal lover. I always have been. When I was little, I wanted to be a vet. Of course, right? They're such, simple and loving creatures, and they can be such great teachers. They really have just the purest of hearts, and they're so healing. They're really our greatest teachers on how to live simply because they're so simple, and they just live simply just through unconditional love and joy through play and knowing when to rest and recharge, right? Like, that's it. Like, they've got it down pat. So I definitely encourage you, if you have pets of your own, spend some time playing with them. If you've got friends that have pets, play with them. You can go to a zoo. You can, volunteer at an animal shelter or some other, nonprofit organization that supports animals. There's so much that you can do. And they will bring so much joy to your life. And, as a kid, you probably loved playing with animals. I mean, I was obsessed with cats. I still am. I'm the crazy cat lady. And horses too. I rode horses and I love all animals, but I know for me, that brings me so much joy. So that's a great way and easy. Another one is to really be one with nature. So this is probably on probably every podcast I talk about nature, because it's once again, like animals, nature is our greatest teacher. And nature reminds us to slow down and, go out and breathe the fresh air. I mean, think about when you were a little kid, right? Like, most of the time, you probably spent the majority of your time outdoors. I know I did. Like, we were always wanting to be outside. We never wanted to be inside. And, really, that's, like, think about the times, like, that's going to bring you so much joy to think about, like, playing outside. I know, like, we used to go down to this creek by my house and play, and then there was this park right by my house as well. And, we would just play. We would go exploring. That was so much fun. Like, that was pure joy. I loved it. And, I bet a lot of you too probably rode your bike everywhere, because that was how we got to places, right? Like that's freedom right there. Or maybe you went to the local swimming pool. Chances are most of the activities you were doing as a kid, they were outdoors. So, it's so cool because as children, we have this innate sense of freedom that comes with being out in nature. We just understood that like naturally as kids, right? It has to be a little more conscious now as adults, but just go back and think about what you used to do outside and just go outside and be in nature. That's going to help bring you so much joy. Another thing, of course, is to get creative. Oh my gosh, as a kid, I loved art class and I loved anytime we got to do projects or build things or create anything. And, I remember doing these projects in school, but we did them at home too with my family, which was really fun. So think about the different types of arts and crafts projects that you loved most as a kid and bring those back into your life. It doesn't matter. I just want to mention this too. It doesn't matter if you feel childish or silly. That's actually the point. Like, let your guard down and just play and just let that inner child come out. So, there's a couple different things that came to mind when I was thinking about getting creative. So it was really funny because I saw this article recently about creating your own Play-Doh. So that was always really fun. So you can find the recipes to create your own like natural recipe at home, and you can even add like food dye to color it if you want. But that's really fun. Maybe do that. Or the first thing too that came to mind was Lincoln Logs. Do you guys remember those? Oh my gosh, I loved Lincoln Logs. Those were super fun. I feel like that would be really like therapeutic now. It's kind of stressful. It's kind of mindless, right? Like it is, but it isn't. And you're using your hands and you're creating, and I think that would be so fun. I gotta find some of those. I don't have those anymore, but maybe I don't know if like that's still around for children, but that would be really fun to play with. Another thing is just color in a coloring book. This has kind of made a big comeback with the adult world. They have these adult coloring books now that are pretty fun. I actually got one recently, and it is very just stress relieving and calming, and it's coloring with color pencils. Like that just brings you back. Like it's just fun. Some other fun things that put a smile to my face thinking about it was drawing with an Etch-a-Sketch. Those were so cool. And I guess if you really want to go seek one out, like if you don't have one, you could probably find them on like, I don't know, Etsy, eBay, Amazon. I mean, these are probably all making a comeback. Etch-a-Sketch is cool. You know, get those out. Or another thing I used to love is Light Bright. Oh man, that was really cool. I don't know if I think they probably still make those because I think I researched how to spell it. So that would be really, really fun to do. And again, these are all fun. You can do them by yourself or you can include your family. I mean, these are great activities. Of course, just good old painting or drawing. Really, if you want to take it to another level, like really get down in there and like finger paint. Like get your fingers all in the paint and just do that. Make some abstract design. Go for it. It's funny too. I actually just bought a paint by numbers recently, so that's kind of cool. So if you feel like you're like, if the thought of like coming up with a design stresses you out, then try a paint by numbers. It's already created. You just paint it in according to the number. It's pretty cool. And the paintings that come out are really amazing. And they have so many different ones to choose from. So you could try that. Another thing too that was fun that came to mind was paper mache. Do you guys remember that? We used to make so much stuff out of paper mache, and I think it's pretty easy to make. So that would be kind of interesting. I know it's probably kind of messy, but I think that would be fun to kind of get your hands dirty and play a little bit. Another thing that I used to love as a kid is like we did this with birthday parties. Like you go to this place and it had a bunch of different pieces of pottery. It was just plain pottery and different, it could be like different shapes or, all sorts of different things. And you would just paint it yourself. So, you could go get a piece of pottery that's already made and just paint it. Or if you really love pottery, go make your own pot. That would be cool. And again, that's that kind of using your hands, getting dirty, and that would be really fun. Create a vision board and kind of go old school, right? Like you did maybe when you were a teenager, right? Like you would cut out pictures from different magazines on things you loved or things that you want to bring into your life, like your future board. So like just kind of have fun with that. That would be really fun. You could get like some people together, just even on Zoom too. That's what's so great too, is you can do a lot of this stuff on Zoom with, since we're probably going to be quarantining again, possibly coming up here. So, again, you could just hang out with your friend and you guys could all be on Zoom doing it together. And then you can show each other. Any kind of DIY, do it yourself project would be kind of fun too. Like creating your own bath salts. Like those are so easy. Or like a face mask from all your ingredients in your pantry, right? Um, it's the holidays. Maybe you make your own ornaments that you can put on your own tree or maybe give out as presents. Again, this would be really fun to do with your kids if you have them. Um, Another thing too is, of course, writing. If you like to write, that's a great creative outlet. And, if you think about writing from kind of a play inner child perspective, maybe you write like a short story or like a fiction or like a children's book or, better yet, get the family together and act out your play. Maybe you write a play and you act it out together. I know my friend and I used to love doing that. We would create our own little plays, but we would also act out like our favorite movies. And this is, y'all are probably going to make fun of me. And I know my sister, if she's listening, is definitely going to make fun of me. But we, we used to love Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. So we would act out that movie, and we loved Indiana Jones too. So we would do both of those, and that was so much fun. Oh my gosh. And we would just do it for ourselves, but then sometimes we'd like invite our family members to watch the play. That was fun. You could also too create your own recipe. If you like to cook, maybe this is time to try creating your own, right? And, cook it. And if it's a winner, share it on social media. That would be really fun. And again, you can invite the whole family to participate. And, with the holidays coming up, you're probably going to have a little more time to do these things. So that's kind of fun too. Another thing that's super fun that I thought about was, busting out those old board games. Like, yeah, like I know that's kind of making a comeback a little bit, but I loved playing board games. And, I personally, when I was little, I think about, I like Shoots and Ladders, Operation, Candyland, Trivial Pursuit, 20 Questions, Monopoly. Like, those are all great classics, right? Clue, that's another one. And just good old, really classics like charades or Pictionary or what was I thinking? Anyway, things like that. Like those are all really fun to do. And again, you can play this with friends and family over Zoom. Like you can do all of these. Especially even if one person has the board game, they can kind of manage the board game. But if other people have it, they can participate. So I think that would be really fun too. Um, Maybe you watch some movies or shows that you used to love. Um, I'll be the first to admit that I love some good true crime. I love that stuff. I really do. However, sometimes I just want some like good, clean fun, right? Like a good, wholesome show. So when I do that, I watch like Gilmore Girls or Dawson's Creek. Like those were kind of big and when I was younger. Or you can watch, certain movies like The Goonies is one of my all-time classic favorites. So, kind of bringing in some of that wholesome fun that can really bring some comfort and joy during times like these. Another thing too, this was kind of fun that came through is, really connecting with your loved ones kind of in an old-fashioned way, right? Like, again, reverting back to the more simpler times, like before we had the internet. How did you express your feelings for someone, right? So you could do that through writing a love letter, like actually write one out. You can write your partner or maybe a crush or a handwritten love letter, a poem maybe, and, put it on their pillow or mail it to them if they're not in your house. Um, since a lot of us are working from home together, maybe you pass a little note to your spouse or partner and kind of slip it under their door. And, with the note, you got to make sure, because this is what we did in class, you got to write questions so that they can write you back, right? You got to keep the dialogue going. So be sure to include that question at the end so they can write you back. You can ask a friend to be a pen pal. Remember good old pen pals? I used to be pen pals with my cousin who lived in a different state when I was little, and it was so much fun. You can connect with a friend or a family member you don't talk to as much anymore and, start writing those handwritten letters to each other. You can make someone a mixtape. So like the younger generation is probably gonna be like, what is that? So, but this was like the ultimate gesture of like the romantic expression of love, like to make your boyfriend or girlfriend a mixtape of all the songs that remind you of them. And oh man, I love that. There's nothing more romantic than sending songs, that remind you of them. Now, today, you could make a Spotify playlist and send it to somebody. That would still be very romantic. Um, you can send someone a care package. I mean, this is a good classic way to show somebody that you care and bring them joy too, as well. And you can be fun. Like, you can include fun little things in there. It could be anything. It could be, food or candy or candles, or you can get kind of silly with it too. So just have fun with it. And that person's really going to appreciate that. And then, of course, you can always just reconnect with a friend from your childhood. That would be really fun, especially when you haven't really connected with in a while. Give your friend a call and just kind of reminisce about the good old days, right? And the fun times that you guys shared together. I think that would be really special, especially right now in this time. Of course, dancing that's a great way. That dancing is so great for many reasons, right? Like it's going to release some endorphins. It's just silly and fun and like dance like nobody's watching you and just be silly about it. And you could even like put on your favorite decade, right? Like I'm obsessed with the 80s. So like any kind of 80s song is going to get me dancing, right? And I'll admit I still know Michael Jackson's Thriller dance, right? You do too. I know you do. So feel free, dance your heart out. That would be really fun. Another fun thing, oh my gosh, this brought me so much joy, and I actually told my husband I wanted to do this recently. So you can camp in your living room or your backyard. So I know when I was little, I used to love creating forts. Like we would take chairs and put like blankets and sheets draped over them and like sleep under them. Like it was like a little fort. Or you can just, get out the tent and put it in your backyard and sleep under the stars. That's what I really want to do. I think that would be really fun because you know what? You got a bathroom right there. It's you can go in if you get cold. Like it's nice. But I think that would be super fun and kind of bring out that inner child back in. Another thing I heard too was to get back into your childhood sport. If you played sports or maybe some kind of hobby that you had as a child, get back into that. I actually recently started up ballet again. I used to love ballet and jazz when I was little, and I just started, and it was right before the pandemic hit, so I kind of had to take pause on that. But that's been really fun. And you don't have to do anything like you don't have to be in a competitive league or anything. Like if you played soccer, go hit this, bounce the soccer ball around, or maybe go to the local park and shoot some hoops if you played basketball or whatever. Like I think that would be really fun to kind of bring that back out, and it's healthy, gets you outdoors, and yeah, so that would be awesome. So those are just a few different ideas that me and my guides came up with. Again, a lot of them are kind of from my own childhood experience, but I really do encourage you to think about what really brought you joy in your childhood. And it's interesting too because as I was going through this exercise myself, um, thinking about playing Trivial Pursuit brought back memories of my dad. And he he would like to say he was the king of Trivial Pursuit. Like he knew everything. Um, and so it's interesting. It's like he's passed away, so it's kind of sad, but then it's also a fond memory. It's something that like I can remember him by, and it helps to keep his spirit alive. So, really what I'm trying to say with this is that even in the darkest of times, there's always light and joy to be found. So like even though it's hard to think about my dad not being here, thinking about his memory and playing Trivial Pursuit with him is like brings me joy. It's really fun, and it makes me happy to think about him. I feel close to him. So again, that's even though there's just like so much craziness going on around you in this world right now, like you can still find that joy and that light. Um, and the great news too, again, the holidays are just around the corner. I mean, it's like a couple of weeks until Thanksgiving. So this is a perfect time to bring back your inner child and really tap into that, right? Because like Christmas and the holidays, Thanksgiving, like Hanukkah, that's all like so catered to children, right? Like that's probably when you have really great memories. And of course, it's like being with family, and like the whole message of it is awesome. So this is a perfect time. And again, like I said before, you've got time. You probably took some time off of work. So this is going to be great. So a couple things you can do over the holidays is, if you're in a place where it's cold and it snows, like maybe you go sledding, or maybe you make some snow angels and play in the snow. Maybe you go cut down your own Christmas tree, or maybe you make some cookies with your family. Maybe you can, oh gosh, you just anything you can, like whatever your traditions are. Think about that. We all have our own traditions from the holidays when we were little. Maybe kind of bring one of those back if you haven't carried that with you into your own family. Maybe bring something back that you used to love as a child. That'll bring back some nice memories. I will say, like, writing this has been so much fun. I like talking about this. That alone just brings me so much joy and puts a smile on my face. Like, I was really excited. I know I say this all the time, but I was really excited to do this episode because of course, it's so needed right now. But this is it's just so fun to think about. Like, this gives you some time to just, be in the moment and, like, just focus on you and think about your childhood, think about the things that you love. Like, it's so fun. And I encourage you, to journal about this and, write down all those childhood activities that brought you the joy, that made you so happy and puts that smile on your face. And also think about like how can you implement these activities, in your daily life to really let your inner child to come out and play and invite that joy into your life. Really, it doesn't matter what you do just remember to just choose joy. Just remember that. Choose joy. That's an easy thing to remember. Simple, right? Simple is key. So, share your experience. I'd love to hear what you enjoy. Like, what were the things that you think about that you're like, oh my gosh, remember this? Like, that's so awesome. I want to bring that back in. And this is actually a great segue into my announcement that I'm really excited about, is that I just created a Facebook group specifically for the Spirituality Simplified podcast. So I'm really excited about this because this is a place where this beautiful community can all come together and we can discuss the podcast. We can, share our own stories and comments. We can ask questions about the podcast. We can discuss, topics for future podcasts. So I'm just excited about this ability to really interact together and be able to have that community. So, definitely join. I would love for you to join. It's free, and again, it's a great time and a great way for us to all come together and connect, especially as, winter is coming. It's getting colder, more possible quarantine. So, this is a really good time for people to come together and make sure we still have that sense of community. And plus, I just get to interact with you guys, so that's exciting. So if you want to join, you go to facebook.com/groups/ Spirituality Simplified podcast. And I'll include the link in this podcast description. So I hope to see you there. And I wanted to remind you too that, if you're having a difficult time or you need some help finding joy or need some help really finding and tapping into your inner child, then you might be interested in my Sound the Call of Your Soul program, which is really focused on healing through play. Like, that is the main theme and focus of this program. It's all centered on tapping into your inner child and your inner light to help bring you that clarity and to help find that purpose in your life. So check it out. You can go to my website at soulhealingwithallie.com/programs if you want to take a look and schedule a call with me. Schedule a 20-minute consult exploration call. Like, we can chat and see if this would be a good fit for you. So definitely take that out. And then, of course, while you're on my website, subscribe to my mailing list and be sure to get your free blue light meditation. And you'll also be subscribed to my monthly Soul in One digest, which is awesome. The November issue just went out, had all sorts of cool stuff like channeled messages from spirit and channel messages from crystals and free meditations to help you really work with the energies of the month. So it's really awesome. So highly recommend to sign up for the mailing list. And of course, all this information is in my blog that's also on my website under the blogs tab. So I think that's it for the announcements. Thank you so much again for joining me today. I had so much fun sharing this with you. I hope that this was fun for you as well. And I really hope that this inspires you to really think about all the fun activities that you enjoyed as a child and bring some of those back into your life today. So remember to keep it spiritual, but keep it simple. Thanks, guys. See you next time.